Next fly we're going to tie is a pheasant tail Zelon Midge. And you know, I grew up as a dry fly fisherman, but one fly that I refused to fish for probably the first 40 years were midges. I was afraid to fish small flies on tiny tippet, and I avoided midges. Here about maybe 30 years ago, I decided I was going to take up midge fishing, and I wish I had fished midges during the long 60-some years I've been fly fishing and fly tying. Midges emerge all season long, and they are very, very important to trout and to anglers alike. So the hook we're going to use is a new hook that just came out from Tiemco and Umpqua. It's called an XC240BL. And this hook is a barbless hook, but it grips and holds like no other hook I've ever used. I love this hook. It's got a black finish, just a proper downward bend to put it, and we're going to put a shuck on, and you'll see that in a minute. But to begin tying the pheasant tail Zelon Midge, we're going to lay a foundation of our working thread. And our working thread is simple Semperfli's 12-aught classic waxed olive dun thread. And most midges, particularly in the West, but basically all around the world, and there's 10,000 species, are kind of an olive color. A lot of them have a very distinct olive abdomen. So with that, we'll use olive, but you can use any color you so desire. Simply, and we're going to take Zelon or parapost material, and this is going to imitate the shuck. And it's very important because during a midge emergence, there are so many midges, adult midges, trying to emerge that so many become impaired, crippled, caught in their shuck. And trout realize that they're easy prey because they cannot escape their pupal shuck, and they'll take these impaired midges. So what we do is we cut about half of the diameter of a full diameter. If you use a full diameter, it's way too much, way too heavy a shuck for a small fly. This is a size 20. And we're going to tie that on. Again, we're going to separate that shuck material in half and simply trim it. And a lot of people say, how long should that shuck be? It can be too long because if it's tied too long, it in casting sometimes gets caught underneath the hook shank. So you want to keep it anywhere from a half to 2/3 the length of the hook shank. And simply tie that on, and now with your working thread, wrap over the Zelon, and that's going to form your abdomen. That's all you need for an abdomen of an emerging midge. Next, I'm going to take that same Zelon that I separated in half for the shuck, and I'm going to tie that on for a wing to imitate the emerging wings of the pheasant tail Zelon Midge. Just figure eight that on as you would if you were tying a mayfly spinner. Just figure eight that wing on. And then a couple of good wraps to secure it. And finally, the thorax of this fly, importantly, is going to be a couple of strands, 2 or 3 strands of pheasant tail fiber. We're going to tie those fibers on ahead of the wing and now wrap them behind the wing. Just put some additional wraps behind the wing to secure the pheasant tail fiber. Now wrap those pheasant tail fibers, and I like to figure eight around the wing with the fibers. Just figure eight around the wing. Take them forward to the tie-in or tie-off point right behind the eye of the hook and tie off with a few wraps of thread. Trim these out of the way. And now with your working thread, I go back through and figure eight around the wings. And if you want, you can actually sweep the wings back a little bit. That just adds durability, those extra thread wraps. It certainly doesn't affect the flotation of this fly. This fly floats like a cork. Pheasant tail fibers, the frilly nature of them, they accept a lot of fly float, and they'll float like a cork. And that is the finished Zelon Midge. At this point, and I have to tell myself every time, remind myself, refuse all temptation to trim. Just leave it the way it is. particularly with a deformed, impaired, crippled midge that's trying to emerge. There's a lot of things that can go wrong structurally, from the pupa, the attached pupa, the shuck, and there's a Zelon midge. You can see perfect silhouette, floats like a cork, and again, leave these fibers trail like this. One of the noticeable things about emerging midges are their legs, their gangly legs that stick out to the side. That's the completed pheasant tail Zelon midge. Add that to your fly fishing arsenal, your fly box, you will catch dozens and dozens of fish on that fly. Very durable.